everybody's engaged, all hands are on deck. My name is Terrance L. Bankston. I'm a candidate for South Ward Councilperson here in the city of Newark. I am also line C1, the first on the ballot, so it's easy to find me this time. And we're running because of a few different things. First of all, I was born and raised here in the city of Newark. I've been doing politics for over 15 years and community engagement for over 15 years. Not everyone can say that. In fact, there's probably only one other candidate in this race that can say that, and that's the mayor himself. And in terms of somebody who said, you know what, years ago, they had the vision to say, we are not going to be a part of the status quo. We know that changed once you get inside, Councilman. But become a part of the status quo. We're going to fight the county machine. We're going to fight Line A all the way. You know how that goes. And so back then, he fresh out of college, he was running every 4 years for mayor, for council. He didn't care. He was steadfast, he was committed, but one thing he was doing was planting seeds to build his own political apparatus so that he can have troops when he needed troops, so he can counter name recognition when he needed to counter name recognition. And so the only other person to truly commit that same thing into a political brand is myself. So aside of serving in two different municipal directorships here in Newark, the Newark Youth One Stop, which was the last municipal directorship I had, I left there in April of 2013. When I left there, I left the agency in #1 status. How was that ranked? By workforce investment regulations, measurements. They measure things like retention. They measure things like being able to not just attain a job, but keep a job. And also earning what they call a credential. For the first time in over 25 years under my leadership, my team included Will Spear, whose grandmother used to be also a council aide for Honorable Donald Bradley, who's best friends with my grandfather, so obviously a mentor in my life as well. Kim Gaddy, who's a school board member, my aunt, who helped rear me actually in politics. But all of those things made me the leader I was at the One Stop to say, you know what, I can spend my tenure begging the administration for more dollars. I can sit here and complain and give residents and parents a poor excuse, or I can look inside our own talent pool and create programs that will help us do what? Increase the literacy rate by double digits for the first time ever here in the city of Newark in over 25 years with the most at-risk youth. And how do we do that? We said we're not going to keep funding these external organizations that spend more money on staff than they do on our kids. And so we're going to run our programs internally, and we're going to partner with nonprofit. Why is that important? Because I'm not running for office now and then saying, promising you leadership. I've already showed you leadership. I showed you leadership as your director of constituent affairs. I showed you leadership as the director of the Newark Youth One Stop. I showed you leadership as a family service worker for the County of Welfare. I showed you leadership as the director of EOF at Bloomfield College. I've shown you leadership. I've shown you leadership as the chairman of Parent University, where we train parents on not just policy, but not just politics, but policy all around this city. Most of those parents from the South Ward. In the past 2 years, Kim Gaddy's the truth, registered 300 parents here in the city of Newark and motivated 27% of them, right, agent to vote within 9 months. And so that's leadership that we can count on. That's leadership you can bank on, no pun intended. And so May 8th is our election day. I'm running against legacy, meaning I'm running against name recognition. The South Ward doesn't need legacy, it needs leadership. That's why we're in this point that we are at, where we feel that we have an absentee council person. What does that mean for me as a homeowner and as a parent of an 11-year-old child? I need my South Ward councilman to be available full time. I'm not going to compare it to a Nebo, but if we was to compare it to a Nebo, Mount Prospect looked a lot different than Bergen Street. And so there's a disconnect between black leadership historically. It didn't just start this 4 years, but we got to switch up the pace. We can't go another 4 years and continue into the 21st century running this town like it's 1986. And so again, I'm asking you to give us an opportunity. I want to leave room for questions to show leadership. My last point is to help bridge the generation gap here. Newark is a young city, regardless of the fact that legacy has dictated who would be elected representing us for probably all my life. And I'm 35, I'll be 36 in November. But also, again, 72% of Newarkers are under the age of 45 years old, which means that Newark is a young town. There's nobody presently elected representing that demographics. And even though our present councilman is probably one of the youngest, it's still a disconnect for 3 generations or more. Moreover, this is the youngest, the ward that has the most youngest people in it. This is the ward where murders are up 300%. This is the ward, this is the area that has the highest crime, not just in the ward, but in the country. This is the area where there's an increase in murders by black men under the age of 24. This is the ward that needs full-time leadership. My name is Terrance L. Bankston, line C1. Do we have any questions? Thank you, I appreciate you sharing very much. It's good to see you.
Any questions? One in the back.
Yes, Mr. Bankston, I've seen your work in the community organizing parents. What would you do with the amount of money coming in to the South Ward through Port Authority? What would you do to bridge the Newark Public Schools to being prepared for jobs at the Port Authority? I know that you have a daughter, but with the gender wage gap, with males and females, what would you do for other fathers that are fathers of daughters and young boys in the city of Newark so that they can prepare for this opportunity that to participate in the city that Newark's to become? How do we get the schools there? And how would you do that as council?
I won't surround this answer just around the port resources, but it will be applicable to that too. The port has promised us a lot of things. We're waiting for a delivery. But in general, I'm going to restructure the ward period. The way that we operate as the largest voter base in the state of New Jersey is embarrassing. When most elected officials, when they are a ward council person, everything goes through the mayor. We need a ward person that's going to build their own relationship, not just work with the mayor, but work with the county executive. Every single elected official who gets a vote out of the South Ward, I'm going to meet with them on a quarterly basis or a representative from their committee. That's just a leadership council, advisory council for the ward. That way, Cory Booker, Grace Spencer, Cleopatra Tucker, Joe D., and I'm naming names, but I'm talking about positions, leadership roles. None of those folks won't be able to say they don't know in real time. They're not aware of what's going on, and no one in my office, including me, will be able to say, you know what, I didn't know we could access those resources. I didn't know that the county was doing this, because we're gonna have a dialogue every quarter, every 3 months with anybody who represents leadership. And as a council person, I'm not gonna just get engaged when it's my election. I'm going to be engaged in every single election, which we have one every year, the school board, which you talked about, the parents. First, I'm going to be an advocate about this change, period. As a council person, as a ward council person, I'm going to be hands-on with the fact that local control will return in about 2 years, provided that the board checks off all the boxes. We need to be engaged and care about, as a ward, ourselves, not who the mayor tells us and whoever the mayor is. Not what an air reform arm tells us, not what a NEVL tells us from way across town. We need to dictate who our school board members are. We got to go back to putting school board members when we hitting 1, 2, 3, and it's a Asia. I'm going to use this as if I want to get offended. When it's a Kim, because I know you can remember this, when it's a Kim Gaddy and a Dana Roan and an NEVL Ramos, quality leadership across the board. Okay, we're going to get back to that. So part of it is me being instrumental, hands-on in every school board election. Also, hopefully being able to serve on the education council that the city of Newark has. They have a council and a commission that's around education. We are not clear on what they do. We're not clear on what the accountability is across the board. We're not sure how they're working with our respective school board members to ensure that they're not just sitting there pressing a button saying yes, saying no, but what are we doing as a municipal government and the board to create policy that makes sense in our schools? Not waiting for the state to dictate to us what we do. So we're going to have better partnerships, but I also plan on restructuring the ward where, again, not just the elected officials, but residents, seniors, homeowners, renters, and young people will be a part of a council that is attached to my office at the hip. They are giving us information, we're giving them information. So that's just a new approach to the ward and a new approach to leadership.
We have time for 2 more questions, and we have 2 other candidates.
And I do have meet and greets scheduled all around the ward over the next couple of weeks, so I'll be able to give you that information too if we need to follow up on some more things.
Yes. 2 more questions.
Good morning. I'm a homeowner on South Street, and I've been a homeowner now for almost 40 years. And my concern is that I actually bought a new house. And I've been looking at new houses that have came up within the area, and some of them are so expensive that the builders have not moved anyone into them as of yet. It's been 6, 7 years for a lot of them. The home that I bought, actually the builder had someone come out to appraise the house, which it should not have been appraised at the amount that it was, but after I did my closing, that's when I found out. And it was too late, because we had already bought the home, gave them our money, and there was work that had needed to be done within the house. I checked with the company itself, was called Rosa. There are so many people named Rosa Gonzalez within that company that no one came to help us. And I went to the realtors on Bankston Avenue. I told them, I said, the sockets, my husband had to return the switches and everything all around, all over the house. Why didn't the person that came out and inspected the house, why didn't he know it? Because he worked for Rosa. And not only that, my patio on the top, my balcony in front of my home, it started leaking. So what we did was, my husband had a friend come and pull up the tile to see why it was leaking. We found out that it was packed with sand. Now, we're looking at mold, we're looking at it about to fall down. You know, the money that we pay for this house within this area, I can't even get half of that back there if I want to sell my home. It's not even worth it, because no one wants to buy a house within this area because of the things that are going on within the area. And for us to try to find somebody, I had up until December the 27th to try to contact these people because it was 10 years. After that, I'm not able to do anything. So I'm me. So because nobody would tell me, even the attorney said that my paperwork was, after 7 years, he discarded my paperwork. Really? So I went to the other attorney. He wasn't there. Nobody knows where he is. So I have problems within my home now that may have cost me at least up to $20,000 to be fixed. Why should I have to do this when they built the house? Where was the city of Newark at saying, okay, we come in because this home is being built within the South Ward to investigate to make sure this stuff is done properly? It was not done properly, and it's sad. It's really sad.
Two, I can definitely relate to that. One, I'm going through my second modification living in this ward. And when we read articles and we begin to see ourselves in it, not just someone we know, we understand we got to make a change in leadership. Because it's not about solving all the problems, it's about being present and being helpful. And so the South Ward is one of the wards that battles with the West Ward for the highest foreclosures because people cannot afford their homes. I saw a media interview recently with the current councilman who stated, well, you know, you guys need to get married. We need to get married. 80,000 would be much enough for us if both of us make 40. Well, according to a recent report, 80,000 is not enough for us. It's not enough to own a house or pay a mortgage inside of this city. And so, again, that's why it's important to bridge the gap, because we need folks who are in tune with what's going on right now, not 20, 30 years ago. Two, modifications in the state of New Jersey which helps to make the house cheaper. In order to get the modification, you have to, in the state of New Jersey, house has to be in foreclosure status, which means you're running up against this gun in order to try to gamble to get a modification. I had to fax over 1,000 pages just for the first one. The other side of that is the jobs here, our elected officials are not, they're saying it, maybe it's gonna happen in 2020, I don't know. But they haven't really done a good job at insisting or speaking up at the fact that corporations and the private sector here are not hiring Norkers. And that when folks like Amazon and others do hire us, they want us to pack a freezer, even like the sister said to me at Cup Creators, even with 2 master's degrees. Yes. They do not pay us over $45,000, the majority of us. They pay that to outsiders. Even in City Hall, the mayor's allowing directors who used to live here, who now live in suburban towns, to make 6 figures. How is that helping Norkers? How is that helping us stay in our homes? How is that helping us refinance? Code enforcement, inspection, and these, the city of Newark did have to give clearance in order for the building to get the certificate of occupancy. And so we're not doing a competent job. We're not doing a good job, and we know that this is going on with other mayors too. But we know that there's corruption. In fact, when people may be getting paid off, Rosa built my house too. If it's a point to still get you connected with them, they have always been responsive to me. But there were some things that happened with my house too that I wasn't aware of, like not having enough drains. So when the fall off will come down, it's destroying my house. I have to replace the wood in my garages, and I have a 3-part garage, but they were supposed to make sure there was enough drains going across. My switches in my hallway, some of my folks at Vince Mouse can tell you, I gotta run up the 3rd floor to switch it up, to run back down and switch it on. It's a brand new house. It's one of the newest houses in the ward. So a lot of the things that you identify with, I'm going through myself. And I promise to be hands-on about those things, and most importantly, share the information that I know with the community so that we can get help with the resources and things that are available.
On that note, thank you so much for the interest of time. Candidates have phone numbers, they have emails.
You never really worry about what the rest do. The rain soon come. It's been a long time. Time to elevate hip-hop. Let's go. Tell them, picture me perfect, then picture me irrelevant. Then picture I've been close to hell and then back again. My life handwritten before y'all like my Jesus friend. A key player, moves in position when. Well, sorta like David did. It took the 30 to get it on it like David then. I'm a warrior, musician, and poet. I.e. invested, all gifted and quoted, noted. If I don't tell it, my history will tell it for me. My life, Haley Joe, I really paid for it. Y'all rather hate on my reign versus take orders. So keep playing alive and get slain for it. I never speak out of malice, I just pray on it. It's like I fathered you, son. You get hanged for it. I'm on your death, cause I don't want the fame for it. If you from the hood, you know what I came for. I said if you from the hood, you should.
Hi, my name is Terrance L. Bankston, and I support this message.
Like Jay, I made the next